Have you ever felt alone, anxious, depressed? Or have you ever felt like you're unfixable? According to the American Medical Association, 16% of the US adult population will experience depression in a lifetime. And 13 million US adults experience depression a year. From my personal experience, I have struggled with depression and anxiety since I was 13 years old. But every single one of my siblings, out of 6 kids, have struggled with depression and anxiety. My oldest sibling, my brother, he committed suicide before I was born. So when I was starting to feel anxious and depressed at 13, I was familiar with what was happening. It was kind of something that every single one of my siblings just accepted. But depression and anxiety is a real problem. And what happens if someone's experiencing it but doesn't know what's going on or doesn't know how to fix it? And what happens if it's too late? So, therefore, in order to cure depression and anxiety, after consulting your doctor, one should take antidepressants and go to therapy. So, to begin with, antidepressants. In a journal titled "Antidepressants Are Not Happy Pills, Quick Fixes, or Cure-Alls," Darla Carter explains that depression can be cured through a combination of medication and therapy. Now, to explain, with depression, there's a chemical imbalance in the brain. Simply, there's not enough serotonin in the brain. Serotonin is a chemical in the brain that regulates the mood. So all antidepressants do is gives you the correct amount of serotonin. But that also leads to why it is not a quick fix. It takes a little while for the brain to regulate the amount of serotonin coming in. So antidepressants are not effective until 4 to 6 weeks after taking it. From my personal experience, I did not see a difference until 4.5 weeks. But once it started becoming effective, I saw an extremely big difference. I started realizing that I was not receiving the suicidal thoughts that I felt at night, or the irrational thoughts I would get at night, feeling like I'm not worth it, or feeling that this world's better without me in it. Antidepressants are so effective. However, antidepressants may not be something that you are taking for your whole entire life, but it also might be. But with that being said, you should not just rely on antidepressants. You should also go to therapy. So, furthermore, therapy. Now, in an article titled "The Medication Generation," Catherine Sharp explains her personal experience. Catherine Sharp, she did take antidepressants, but after a while she decided that she did not want to just rely on antidepressants. So after she stopped taking antidepressants, she decided to really dive into going to therapy and commit herself to therapy. So in therapy, she came to the conclusion that it didn't make her feel like she just had a disorder, but instead, the pain she was feeling was just part of the human experience. And I think that is what is so essential about therapy. You don't feel like there's something wrong with you. Instead, you just feel like the things you are feeling are completely okay. And you just need to figure out how to regulate the pain that you feel or the things that come your way. Now, keep in mind, therapists, they're trained professionals. So it's almost like a human diary that gives you professional feedback. And the best part about therapy, it's not limited to anyone. Now, antidepressants, that is simply limited to someone that is genuinely missing the correct amount of chemicals in the brain. So once your chemicals are regulating correctly by itself, you can stop taking antidepressants. But therapy, you can go to therapy for life. And then once you stop feeling so depressed and anxious, you can continue going there just to maintain a healthy lifestyle and a healthy mental space. Therapy is so effective and so essential. And also, a full disclaimer, finding the correct therapist is also so essential. I know from my personal experience, it took me 3 different therapists before finding my therapist. And once I found my therapist, I felt like I was not crazy, and I finally found someone that gave me the correct feedback that I needed. So when going to therapy, make sure don't settle with any therapist. Go to a therapist that you feel understands you. So overall, today I covered the power of antidepressants and therapy. And luckily for me, I had siblings that all have been through this, so after trial and error for all of us, we finally figured out what works for me and how I can cure depression and anxiety. But for you, don't stop until you cure depression and anxiety. You should not just have to live with depression and anxiety. It is a real problem, but there is a solution.